All right, what's going on, y'all? What's going on, y'all? Jeremy Add Value Enterprises. As you already see across the U.S. right now, everybody is dealing with this snow. Everybody is dealing with this snow pretty much all across the country. But hey, if you're a landlord, you got to deal with this in more than one way. You got to deal with it from your tenants. You got to deal with it from a maintenance standpoint. You can deal with it from a preventative maintenance standpoint. But either way it go, you're gonna have to deal with it. You ready to be a landlord? Can you deal with the ups and downs? Can you deal with getting money? Can you deal with maintenance? And listen, we'll soon see. If you haven't already subscribe to the channel, like and share, Add Value Enterprises. I'm looking to help people who want to be investors, landlords. You want to fix and flip, whatever you want to do in real estate, I'm looking to help you. I can help you. I do have the experience. As it stands right now, I got 3.5 years of being a landlord as far as experience. Got some deals under my belt as far as wholesaling, et cetera, et cetera. Buying at the tax sale, bidding at the tax sale, all of that. So, you want to be a landlord in a climate like this where it's cold, sub 20 degrees, 10, some negative zero, below zero. Hey, listen, you're going to have to deal with it all. Today, one of my tenants in one of my units, the heat don't work. And guess what? When it's like this, let me show you guys. When it's like this outside, and you don't have no snow plows coming through no time soon, you just on your own. Let me bring this over here, son. You just on your own. They know the snow's coming. No snow plows. You just on your own. But it's all good. You built for this. You built for this, though. I'm out here giving you guys this content. Hopefully it helps somebody. You know what I'm saying? You ready to be a landlord, all right? So check this out. Today, I had a tenant, the heat go out. I called some people who, what's going on? You good? You good? You can walk through. Yeah, you good. I called some people today as far as HVAC guys, see if we can rectify the issue. Nobody answered. Streets is, as you can see, the streets is not plowed, no salt down. People gonna be getting stuck in the road. So a lot of these companies is not gonna come out in the middle of a snowstorm, hailstorm, rainstorm, depending on what kind of storm you having, ice storm, whatever it's gonna be. So I might have to take measurements in my own hand. So I'm gonna tell you what I did. I bought my tenants some space heaters for now. Now, obviously, I'm gonna rectify the problem, but that's just an immediate fix for the problem right now. All right? That's just what you gotta deal with all day, every day. Not every day, but you know, when you're a landlord. Now, let me tell you this. Let's start from the beginning. You wanna be a landlord, you gotta be built for this. You gotta take the good, you gotta take the bad, you gotta take the ugly. I've been through it all. You know, I've been through it all. The minor issues, the major issues. I ain't had nothing catastrophic, but you know, I've had some things that's happened that'll get your experience coming in quick. So, listen, you gotta be ready for the maintenance. The cash may be good depending on your market, but you gotta be ready for that maintenance too. I'm giving this content to y'all in the snow. It's for the love. All right? So, you ready to be a landlord? First off, don't quit your job. A lot of people gonna tell you to quit your job, live off the rental income. Don't do that. I say don't do that to start. You might not even want to do that once you get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 properties. Because at the end of the day, you're spending money that you could be using to invest. So keep your job, keep your low lifestyle, and let that money build. Let that money compound, let that money gain interest. You know, same financial advice, but let that money make money. Whether that be in the stock market, whether that be using that money to buy other properties, what have you. Same financial advice though. That's just what I would do. All right? So, when things happen, you gotta have the money. And there's gonna be some things that happen that's gonna be more than the rental income. So what you do in that situation? You got $1,000 maintenance event, but you only cash flowing 500, 600. What you do? That difference gonna have to come out of your pocket, or it's gonna have to come out of your business credit. If you got business credit cards, which you should as a landlord, as an investor, period. Swipe your card, pay it back. It's a write-off. It ain't all cookies and cream. It ain't, oh, I'm just living off the rental income. I'm rich, I'm this. You gotta be a responsible person when you get that money. You can't just, boom, I got extra 500, extra 1,000. I'm gonna go spend it. What's gonna happen if the water heater go out? You spend that money, that water heater go out. That's $1,000, depending on your market. What you gonna do if the furnace go out? What you gonna do if a pipe bursts? You spending that money buying cars, jewelry, trying to live a lifestyle. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when the gutters go out? Gutters break, gutters leak. What you gonna do when you have a tenant that just tearing up the place, breaking windows, putting holes in the wall, putting holes in the floor? You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do when you have a tenant that just don't pay you on time or don't pay at all? Because that happens. You're gonna deal with all of that, depending on your strategy, of course. Depending on your strategy and what kind of tenants you have, you're gonna deal with all of that. If you're dealing with affordable housing, you know, they may only be responsible for a certain portion of the rent. But what if they cheap out and they're not paying you your $100, your $50, your $200, your $300? You might get your rent from the city or the county, but what you gonna do when you don't get your portion of the rent from the tenant? You still gotta pay your mortgage. You still gotta pay maintenance. You still gotta do all of that. So you gotta save your money. The money that you earning from rental income and the money you earning on your job. Cause it's gonna come. Trust me, it's gonna come. You're gonna get a $1,000 maintenance bill, a $2,000 maintenance bill, a $3,000 maintenance bill. It's not all. It's not gonna be every single time. It's gonna be here and there. Maybe every 6 months, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course, my boy. You gotta get that snow content. You know what I'm saying? All right. So yeah, so yeah, you know, you gotta save your money. You know, it ain't just go get all the fancy stuff and all that. You know, so you gotta save your money. Keep your job, save your money, all of that. The second thing is don't buy no property that you are not cash flowing on. That's a big, big, big issue. Don't buy, listen, and this is just for me. You do what you do, but I'm gonna do what I do. For every property, whether it's single family, multifamily, if I'm not cash flowing, and multifamily I'm gonna cash flow more, but I'm gonna just give you a single family for example. If I'm not cash flowing more than $500, and really I want to cash flow more on a single family, I'm not doing it. Not in the beginning, at least. As I go along, I might accept 400, but really I'm not going under 500. On a multifamily duplex, I want to try to cash flow 750, 850, 900, 950, somewhere in there, depending on, the price point and all of that. But you got a cash flow, man. You got bills to pay. You got taxes to pay. You got insurance to pay. You got a mortgage to pay. You got to pay for your maintenance and all of that. You got to pay. Yeah, you good. You got to pay for your maintenance and all that. So if you're not cash flowing, where that money gonna come from? Out your pocket. And if it keep on coming out your pocket, you're gonna end up broke. So you got to cash flow, man. The third thing I would say, you don't have to be buying all of these expensive properties, 300, 400, 500,000 dollars, $500,000. You're not gonna cash flow. Depending on the strategy, traditionally, you're not gonna cash flow. If you're doing Airbnb and all that outside of all of that, but you gotta cash flow the traditional way before you get all fancy. I like to cash flow $500 at minimum. My price points for the properties that I'll be buying, now this is just me, and it depends on how many units. I'm in that 50, 75,000, 100,000, maybe 150 if we talking multi, 200 if we talking multi. But that's my price point. Why? Cash flow. It's that easy. Cash flow. You got a cash flow, man. You got a cash flow in this business, man. Because if not, everything is coming out of your pocket. And if everything coming out of your pocket, that ain't no business. You might have to here and there, but you gotta have that business sustain itself. All right? You gotta know how to evaluate these properties. You gotta know how much you're gonna cash flow before you even buy the property. If you're getting into real estate, you know the formula to calculate your cash flow. I would say do your numbers. For example, if the average rent, regardless if it's a traditional cash paying tenant, or you're doing Section 8, or you're doing some other program, if the average rent is $1,000, these other programs may pay 1,200, 13, 14, 15, whatever it's going to be. Run your numbers off of all of those numbers, and even run those numbers based off of less than the traditional rent amount, just in case, just so you know. Obviously, if you're in an area where the rent is $1,000, and you know you're gonna see some that's offering 900, 850, 1100, 12. Run your numbers through all those scenarios, because you don't know how much the tenant is gonna pay if you're doing any alternative tenant, Section 8, any of those other programs. So you gotta calculate how much money you're gonna make So take your rent, minus your mortgage, minus your taxes, minus your insurance, save a little bit for reserves, you know, see what your numbers come out to be, you know. That's what I would do. If it makes sense, go ahead and buy it. If it don't make sense, you gotta fix something. The purchase price, the rental amount, if possible. You gotta do all that. And if it don't work, it don't work. You can't force it to work. If it don't work, on to the next. Whether it's because the purchase price is too high, the rent is too low, whatever the issue is, the taxes are too high. You might have purchased too high, the interest is too high for your monthly payment. You gotta be into math a little bit too, as a landlord. Because at the end of the day, the math is the money going in your pocket, or could be the money leaving your pocket. So that's that. Another thing I would say is MG the mortgage guy, if you watching this, if you ever watch this one is coming from you. You gotta be the CEO of your own business. Meaning you the one that call the shots. You the one that's choosing to buy. You the one that's choosing to put the tenant in there, the certain kind of tenant. You the one that gotta do the background check. I mean, you may not physically do it, but you got people that's helping you, but you gotta know how to do it. You gotta know what you're looking for. You gotta know, you run your tenant's background check. Certain things is on there you may not like. All right, on to the next. Don't allow no realtor or anybody who is helping you in the process make the final decision. Because at the end of the day, you the one that bought the property. You the one to put the down payment on. You the one that's going to pay the mortgage. You the one that's going to receive the rent or not receive the rent, depending on the type of tenant you choose. So you got to be the CEO of your own business, man. That's controlling the rent. That's controlling the maintenance. That's controlling the contractors that you use to fix things up for the maintenance. All of that. I would say you need to have about 80 to 90% of your hands on your business, and periodically, you divvy up what needs to be divvied up. But if you in the beginning stages, you need to be hands on. Don't do no property management. I don't care if you local. I don't care if you are a long distance landlord. You pick up the phone and call the plumber, the HVAC person, the roofer, the gutter guy, the window guy if you got an issue. Because guess what? If you don't, and you tell somebody else to do it, I'll tell you what's going to happen. That other person, for example, is going to say, and this is not everybody, but you're going to run into somebody that said, hey man, the work was $1,500, for example. But really, the work was $900, $800, $500, could have been $200. And what's going to happen? They're going to pocket that other money. That difference, they're going to pocket that. And you might not even know. You think it's somebody trustworthy, they robbing you. I don't care if it's somebody you know, somebody that say they your friend, your family, they say, oh yeah, I got you this, I got you that. Listen, you got to verify everything. Because it's happening out here. And that ain't going to happen to me. Why? Because I got my hands on my business. I got my hands on my business. So if I want to get 2 or 3 or 4 quotes from a plumber, for example, I'm going to get them quotes, compare, look at the reviews. Then I make a decision who I want to work for. They do a good job, I'll save their number on my phone. When I need some more work, they the first person to call. If you got somebody else handling all of this for you, You don't know nothing but what this other person tell you. And that goes for plumbing work, roof work. It could go for minor work, drywall. It could go for paint. It can go for anything. You see what kind of economy we in? It's wolves out here. It is wolves out here, and they gonna eat. If they got the opportunity to eat, they gonna eat. Whether that's getting over on you, whether that's getting over on the next person, listen, they gonna eat. You seen somebody who's starving, somebody who lost their job, somebody who ain't got no money, somebody who down and out. They next meal or their next dollar, they gonna do what they gotta do at all costs. To eat, to get something to drink, to get nourishment, all of that. So, you in the position of power, because you're the one that's got the property. You're the one that, they look at as the person that got money. You the CEO, you the boss, and you might not even be a big boss. You might have one or two properties. You might have vacant land. You might have a little small property here and there, making a little something, something. They still gonna look at you as you the top dog. You the one with the money. So they say. So, listen. You have to be in control of every decision being made regarding your property. And you might come into a situation, you make a decision and it don't go right. You gotta own it. Just because you running your business, you got your hand in the business and you calling the shots. That don't mean it's always gonna go perfect. It ain't always go perfect for me, but for the most part, for me, so far, I would say 85 to 90% of the decisions I've made regarding maintenance or anything have gone right. I try to run my business like a business. Everything is the paperwork. Don't let somebody do something that ain't documented, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how that go. The third thing, I think I'm on the third or fourth thing, I would say is you gotta be hungry for opportunity, man. Just because you got one property, that don't mean you satisfied. You want to get to the next. How you gonna get to the next? You gotta be open to doing deals in multiple different ways. You gotta be open to buying on the MLS if it's a good enough deal. You gotta be okay buying off market. You gotta be okay buying at the tax sale. You gotta be okay buying from wholesalers. You gotta be okay buying from auction websites. You gotta be okay buying from for sale by owners, off market. You gotta do your own marketing. You gotta send your own postcards, your mailers, make videos like I'm making right now to find properties and find deals that make sense. And that's regardless if you're a landlord or you fixing flipping. Because either way, you still gotta find your deals. You might work with wholesalers, but it's good to have all of them skills. So that's what I would say. What other traits you need? You gotta be a problem solver. All right? In some markets, the contractors is hard to find. So you gotta do the due diligence to find a contractor. Here's what I do to find contractors. Obviously, I use Google, Angie's List, all of that. But before I even call you, I'm looking at your reviews. I'm looking at your reviews on Google or any other website. And what I'm doing, I don't care if you got 5 stars all up and down, because guess what? Somebody had a bad experience with you as a contractor. So I want to see that bad experience, and I want to see how you handle that bad experience? Did somebody leave a bad comment and then you just left them on unread? You ghosted them? You didn't answer back? You didn't try to help that customer? I want to see the 1 and the 2-star reviews where it's just a nasty situation. Somebody didn't call back, somebody money got taken and didn't get the service that they paid for. I want to see that. And I want to see how you handle the situation. What was the outcome? How did you rectify the situation? That's how I like to pick my contractors. Every contractor gonna have a situation with somebody, but I want to see how you tried to fix it. Tried to fix it? Okay, cool. We can work with you. If you just acted like it didn't happen, well, I can't give you my business. So that's how I operate as a landlord. Again, share this video, like, subscribe. I'm Jeremy Add Value Enterprises. If you like this video, share it with the next person. I'm trying to help people get money out here in this real estate game multiple different ways. You know? So share, like, subscribe, comment. I answer the comments back. So if you comment, you'll hear back from me. Let's have a little dialogue. So, yeah. It's not as hard as everybody makes it seem. Everybody makes it seem like, oh, you gotta have all of this money. I mean, you do gotta have money. Don't get me wrong. You do have to have some money. And you don't have to be having $100,000 to take care of your property. I would say per unit, 5,000 per unit. It should sustain you for quite some time while you're obviously making the rent money come in. You know, you're paying for maintenance here and there. You're swiping your card there and there. I think 5,000 is a good number because, and that depends on your market too. If you're in a lower tier market where properties is cheaper, 50, 100,000, 75,000, I think 5,000 would be all right. If you're in a higher price market, you might need 10,000 per unit. That depends on the maintenance, how much stuff costs. Midwest, you might be able to get a water heater, $1,000. Northeast, who knows? 2,000, 25, 3,000, who knows? Down south, maybe 1,000, 15, 2,000. It's market by market. Obviously, if you in a New York, you in the LA, California, you in a high price market, that's gonna go up. But listen, y'all get it. Have some money. Have some money, because it's gonna be terrible. You got a maintenance event, you can't fix it. Now your tenant don't got no heat, don't got no water, don't got no electricity. That's gonna be a terrible situation, especially one that could be rectified. Things happen, obviously, but you got to problem solve. You can get personal loans if you need quick money and it's an emergency and you ain't got it. Personal loans, credit cards. Maybe you could do a HELOC on your house if you got enough equity. But listen, you know what to do. If you win this game, you know what to do. You got to be the CEO of your own business, man. You got to be the shot caller. So that's that. When you get your first property, your second will become somewhat easier, and then the third, fourth, fifth, easier, like that. So that's that. Listen, in these cold weather environments, snowing, icy out, the maintenance events is coming. So It's definitely coming. Especially when it looked like ain't nobody trying to come clear the road for you, put that salt down. So you're gonna be on your own for a minute. So look, and listen, you're gonna have to be that entrepreneur. You're gonna have to be that one that free yourself. You're gonna have to be that one that do it for you, do it for your family, do it for whatever goals you got. It's challenging. It ain't impossible. I would say if you're just starting out, you ain't gotta buy no 200, 300, 400, $500,000 property. Stick with the 50, 75, 100. It's gonna be older. Older don't mean that you're gonna have more problems, because guess what? It's stuff that's brand new that's having problems. So get your first property, get your first in a lower price market that you can afford.